expected to make it. So
Logical Raptors fanatic.
shoot trying to miss. Like every shot
Logical Raptors fanatic.
try to make it. So I was gonna act surprised.
A fun guy. Obviously
Logical Raptors fanatic.
love the game of basketball. I mean, it's just more questions you have to ask me in order for me to tell you about.
Logical Raptors fanatic.
I just can't give you a whole spiel. I don't even know where you're sitting at.
No
Project Truth.
has contacted me, and I see all the stuff that, like, you guys see. I dream like they dream. Yeah, Yeah, so they keep dreaming. I dream too.
Salute, real ones. Project Truth always. Mike G back here with Logical Raptors fanatic. And today, this has been a special treat to come back to my first kind of series on this channel and start the thing that kind of started it all, in a sense, the Raptors extension series. And this is kind of 1.5 because the first series is the first series. Rough audio, like iPod headphone mic, and like still has the watermark on it at the bottom from the creator studio I was using to initially make my videos. And now the channel's progressed quite a bit, and we have a whole new format with our kind of layout for our slides and the kind of theme and kind of different things that we're doing with the channel, the better mic quality. So it'd be nice to kind of go over things and set up the summer, but then also kind of revisit the format from the original and talk about Poeltl's kind of point up to now, in a sense, and what we're going to look at going forward. Obviously, we're missing this season, but we can still look at certain things, and we have an idea of the amount of money he wants and stuff, and we'll talk about his current contract, and then we'll go over the numbers for the summer, and I will show how we keep all our core pretty much and have tons of options to do still a bunch of different things. The flexibility of this roster will show this summer, I believe, if we decide to keep the whole core together, and they will show what kind of great money men Bobby Masai, you know what I mean? Mainly Bobby's the numbers guy that works all these numbers, but you're going to see a trend, and I'll talk about different contract trends that have been used with the Raptors to manage cap, and we'll look at different things. So this is going to be an interesting one, obviously. Strap back, enjoy. We're going to dive deeper. Let's go. So we have a lot on our plate this week, so we're going to get right into it. And I think this is brand new, first previewed on this channel. This is the kind of ideas I had for going forward with the kind of stats and mold players and what we're looking for. And you can glance at this and get a lot more information than me reading out numbers and all this kind of stuff. And in the mentor files, we went over how certain kind of different stats are linked together based on logic. Like the your 3 point or 2 point percentage is all about attempts and how many you put up and how hard you're being guarded in the scheme and all that kind of stuff. We talked about that minute skewing, right? That's part of that. And minutes, and these are bunched together, right? Field goal attempts, general field goal, right? Those are lumped together, right? 3 point attempts, 3 point percentage, all lumped together, right? 2 point attempts, 2 point percentage, all lumped together, right? Estimated, I left that right, and then we'd have free throws all lumped together, assist or rebounds, sorry, all lumped together. Then assists and turnovers kind of lumped together, and then steals, blocks, and fouls all linked together in a sense of efficiency defense, right? So we've talked about all we've built up to this point, but I'd like to just like, you know what I mean? Like we've built up so much knowledge on this and all this kind of stuff, right? And we're going to just continue through and let the past be there to build up onto this so this can be done in a better, more efficient way. And I think the coloring system is very straightforward, but we'll go over it quickly, right? So, first 2 years, we'll look at it in like chunks now because we can look at easily with glance, right? So, rookie season, obviously, light green didn't really go hard on the court. Free throws were, eh, but they're over 5, right? So, like you know what I mean? Red and assist to turnovers, obviously a negative ratio, right? And then second year, bench mob year, played all 82 games of the bench mob year, was the anchor of the bench mob defensively, right? He got more attempts. Fred was playmaking for him more, right? We see that he's kind of getting into that 600 club and holding weight, and we could see that's kind of there, right? So this is obviously what San Antonio was looking at. They're like, okay, we got a guy that's really good on the inside, high IQ defender, right? Free throws, it improved a bit. Like we were looking to improve it, right? And it did improve first year, but slightly. It's not like super volume, so we can't really even take too much from these stats till the volume's up, right? So and then like rebounds, man body, we've talked about it, minute skewing. He got 7 more minutes, so obviously it's going to skew up more. Assists, turnovers, close, well, same margin but higher volume, so still red, still the same negative positive to turnover ratio, right? Steals, blocks, it all looks pretty uniform for a center position, right? Pretty just decent green, not like crazy out of the box. Where you see later when he has some greater stats, you'll see, right? So then his first year in San Antonio and his second year were with DeMar DeRozan, and they were going for it, right? So that was a different team, and they had like LaMarcus Aldridge, right? So he he played, but he didn't start a lot of games. They were still competing for playoffs, right? And they did make playoffs one of the years, and then failed to make playoffs, and then they kind of like blew things up, right? A bit. Well, they signed and traded DeRozan, right? And they went a little bit more younger, and you could see that he starts way more games in the second period of the two of the 4 years, right? And then he spends a little bit more of this current year, but we don't have complete statistics, and I don't want to look at them till they're complete, right? So we'll continue on. So field goal attempts, yeah, it's about he had more attempts with us, but obviously, when they're competing, they're not going to ask him to be that much early on in his season or in his career, right? They're going to rely on DeMar more and LaMarcus Aldridge to do those shots, right? So his attempts went down a bit, right? He still had great percentage though. So he was able to maintain high volume, low volume. He's still maintaining that touch around the basket, right? And then obviously free throws. See, I think they weren't going to support him in that way, and it just fell off a cliff more than with us, where we were kind of actually working and getting some kind of improvement. This kind of falls off, and then it falls off even more the next year into the red, which is not very good. But you're gonna see improvements in other stats, obviously man bodying more, get like even with like similar minutes, right? So like he's improving, he's coming into his man body, showing that he can hold his position in the post. He's not going to be pushed around a lot. But this is where the interesting part is his first year with San Antonio is actually where he gets positive assist to turnover ratio. And but like we said, turnovers for centers are different. So I didn't go bananas based on the types of turnovers he gets, and these are probably all strictly, like I said, either flubbed rebounds or like, you know what I mean, missed passes. So that's decent, like half, but low volume, so we're not gonna go dark green with it yet, right? It's not fully there. And then the next year obviously increases the assists, but a little bit more turnovers, but it's a better ratio with higher volume. So it's starting to show that he's actually gaining momentum and IQ in that based on the type of growth. Like his volume increases, but then he gets more efficient, right? So it's like it's a great little thing that the Spurs kind of did, really built up his passing game. We're going to see in the next two sets, but defense is pretty much the same, right? All similar. Lower fouling, like he said, and we talked about it on the Raptors Freak Nation stream that he was asked to foul less, and they didn't want to pressure as much as we do. So like his fouls definitely looked way different even in the first 2 years. Points, he was still building his game and he wasn't relied on at that point. So I think points obviously skew to attempts. And look how many attempts he had. He had like 5 attempts, 4 attempts a game, right? And he's getting decent production off it at least, right? So we'll continue on to his second two set with the Spurs, where he started really being relied on because it was a younger team. They're like, Jakob, now we need you to play make a lot and do a lot more things than you were doing before, right? Really be an anchor for us. So you're going to see an improvement in shot number, and then second year he gets up to 10, which I think that's a really great number for him in the sense of what the role we want him to play as in the center two mold, right? I've explained it all out, right? I don't want to go too much tangent on different things, but center mold two, these are good stats for that. Started 67 games, played 68. That's pretty decent. Like touching 70, but not like 82, right? Where that's that dark, nice championship, like, yeah, right? So obviously he improves more from getting more shots, right? So this year is nice and dark because the volume's up now, and we can actually see that his numbers translating, and it is actually really good statistically, and he is one of those guys in the league with the touch. He's got the touch. And then obviously in his last San Antonio season, well, before this one where he got traded, he played really well with that kind of gold stuff, right? Free throws, we can see no progress there. Kind of went up a bit, went down again. So they weren't working his shot a lot, but they were working a lot of different things, right? So offensive and defensive rebounding, obviously man bodied up. He's definitely holding his weight. 9.3. Look, 4 offensive rebounds and 5.5 defense. That's a great ratio. That's a great ratio for a center. It shows his ability to be on the offensive boards and the defensive boards. He's able to have enough speed to be able to get both, right? And that's a really good, solid, great number, I think, for like the secondary center position. We're gonna play him in as the starter, but ultimately on a championship team, it depends whether he can build up his shooting to be that number one guy. Because Hakayak is still a real thing, and so there are a little bit of limitations at the moment, but we're gonna definitely look to tweak those, right? So now we can see his assist to turnover ratio. He's building up that passing IQ, and now he's fully in gear, right? Of able to make a lot of different passes, and we see that now when he came to the team. And this is the year before this one that he's currently in. So blocks, steals, yeah, they look similar, right? A little bit more fouling though, so I kind of shaded it back. I shaded it back. We're being fair with it, right? And then obviously with more shots, he's gonna show out more, right? So as you can see, the the balance of his shots and where they come from and his points and stuff, there was no need to kind of shade the points like I did with Thad because Thad was having three balls different years and it was more of a mix of shots and different three throws and two pointers and three. So that you know what I mean? It was more valuable to do that. You could see his stat and know where the points came from right here. Two pointers, right? So, but let's talk on his playoff experience a little bit before we get into the contract stuff. And I think we talk about what's important here, a winning foundation. His first 3 years in the league, he saw what it took to get to the playoffs, and that built him into a certain type of player, right? And then he gets a couple years of losing, realizes like, hey, I want to get back to this, right? So we know what kind of guy he is and what he wants, right? He wants to be in the playoffs, playing minutes, and we could see like I'm not going to go too over these stats because obviously like it was his first, second, and third year in the league, but obviously San Antonio played him a lot of minutes in there, so it looks like his field goals playing out in the playoffs. So looks nice, looks nice. His free throws obviously small scale, but it looked like he was getting them for us, right? And that was his last kind of measuring point with us before he went to San Antonio. Obviously, the free throws, we could see what happened here. So we were actually working on things, and there was no hack a yak in our kind of sweep that year where we blew up the team a bit. Well, not blew up the team, but kind of traded DeRozan, traded JV, won the chip the next year, and history's history, right? But total rebounds looking nice, right? Assists to turnover ratio, yeah, it was negative there, but positive in San Antonio. So we can see he plays out in the playoffs because he has the IQ to adjust and do different things, and we could see that he's viable in the playoffs. So we don't need to comb through that too much, right? Previous extension series, I did have like a future prediction of the role like they're going to have on the contract extension that we're talking about here. And obviously key to the points of knowing what Poeltl will be long term, I have to kind of watch him more and what he does with this team and what options kind of get checked. Like, okay, that's something good, and then something that doesn't work. And we kind of have to experiment a little bit with Jakob, but I think his high IQ can really just get through this process a lot quicker than most, right? So I think I can't really touch the crystal ball and use my like accumulated knowledge of the player to understand what his role is going to be on this next contract that we're going to be talking about today, but we can judge the amount that he was said to have been asking for, and I think just his want to be here can work in our favor too. But we'll start talking about numbers. So as we can see here, Jakob signed a 3-year deal worth 26 million and a quarter, right? With the San Antonio Spurs, including that's the full guaranteed value. So even if anything happens, he gets injured crazy, he's still getting paid this money throughout the contract, right? And that an annual average salary of 875. So decent like amount, right? I think with the increasing of the cap, we're gonna look to sign Koloko at that like near 10 million mark, and that's kind of like that second center contract. And I was saying before in my extension series in the summer that that money, Koloko's money, will come from when Boucher comes off the books. His 10 million comes off the books, right? So he's Koloko's kind of taking care of his spot, but now we have to kind of look at our other center here. And in this year, right, he'll earn a 9.394, so 9.4 million, while carrying a cap hit of, yeah, that amount, right? And if we waive him, a dead cap value of that. So we can't like waive him and do any crazy stuff. That's out of the question, but that's the definitely the language that needs to be said like in certain things, right? These this stuff matters, like guaranteed money and percentage of league cap really matters, cap hit. And we could see how they structured the contract, right? Even though this is the average annual value, you can fluctuate between 5 to 8% depending on the player and how many years they've been in the league, but you can fluctuate the amount based on that percentage and the amount here, right? Each year. So you can actually decrease it or increase it 5 to 8% depending, right? So they decreased it in the first year, hit the normal mark, but then to average out, they put the extra money they decreased in the first year to the third year. So we'll see how that affects the cap here. So first year, it's a 7.42% hit, right? Earns a little bit more money, so it gets more of the percentage. But look at this. Watch this. They knew a cap spike was going to hit because these were the rough years. This is the pandemic, and the cap was frozen within those years, so it didn't go up. So that's why the percentage went up. But look at this. Even with a bigger amount, now it's less percentage of the cap, right? Even though he's making 9 million, it's because the cap went up. So this is what really matters at the end of the day when you're working with strict amount contracts. Max contracts grow. Like they're always the same percent here. When you get a 30% max, it's this is what determines the value back, right? But when you're on an amount contract, set amount, it works like this, where as the contract ages, it actually increases in value, even though the like because you're using less of the cap to hold that player, right? And that means more money for other guys, right? So, and there's also an interesting thing here, aggressive trade restriction. This player cannot be traded with another players until April 9th, 2023. So it was in his contract that he can only get like traded once and then he can't be traded again, right? So he's obviously unrestricted free agent. And I think the amount he was looking for and he was parroting in the like the when they're asking amounts, and I guess his agent told him to put this amount out there, but 20 million. So we'll play with 20 million as the average annual salary, and I'll show how we do this in the first year and tag it on to the third and fourth year to fix our window and not have to lose anyone. It's just basic stuff that's been done every year. Everyone wants to make a panic because they think that that's how contract structures work, where it's every year is just the same number and you can't do anything about it, right? Well, I'm going to do some gymnastics in the second part of this, and we're going to I've marked I think Jakob Poeltl for 20 million 3 years sounds good, right? Gives us a chance to really get Coloco to soak in whatever, and then whatever place Poeltl has after that, we could see then, and we are gonna have more money at that point. I'll show how it works out. So it's gonna be an interesting one. So obviously this is really confusing at the start. Don't worry, we'll go through it. Usually when I see like a big complex thing, you work through it piece by piece. Look at each thing, analyze it slowly, and build a picture over what it takes and stuff. You know what I mean? Like how you kind of dissect something complicated. But we'll start at the top. Spicy pea, swirl pea, like we were saying in my logical live. I want to start doing like a monthly stream where I kind of just chat, review what the Raptors have done the previous month, preview the next month, you know what I mean? Talk about what you guys are talking about. Viewers want to have a question or whatever, I'm answering that stuff. less extracurricular stuff. So if that scared you away from the first kind of stream there, I deleted those ones. They were tests and I was kind of goofing around a little bit too much. But this one's a lot more cleaner and really on point and really welcoming to everyone. Even Mo, super fan Mo, checked in, really big Raptors fan, positive Raptors fan, big Raptors Freak Nation fan, and she's actually even doing stuff with like the Toronto basketball like media people and stuff, and like she's on like a video and she was doing stuff with the actual open gym guys and the actual team and stuff. So that was really cool. Really cool. Shout out to her. She's definitely a great person. But let's get back to what's the goodness on hand. So Pascal Siakam, right? We decided we are going to give him a 30% max, 4 or 5 years, whatever he wants to take or what works, right? Then we went on to Fred. We said the range was 28 to 30 million. I increased the range just to keep the numbers clean so it'll be easy to do math on the other side. You'll see. So 30 million 4 years, right? Gary Trent 25 million 4 years, right? Ananobi, obviously, I said at any time, some of the younger guys like Gary Trent, OG, Scotty, Precious could pop, and that would demand more money. And OG popped this year a little bit more than expected, right? So we're definitely gonna have to pencil him in for more money the next summer, not this summer, so we don't have to worry too much about that. But I'll review that stuff up in the summer Raptors extension series too, because I'm going to do it every summer, right? And we're going to take a look at the contracts and see what position we're in financially, right? So obviously, Chris Boucher, we're just going to probably hold that contract, but there are our options. We could trade him and drop 11 million, but I doubt that would happen because he is the bench right now and he is important to the mold system. And we're doing some stuff with Coloco and Precious, and their kind of synergy is really good right now. We want to support our younger guys if they have a great connection with someone. We're not looking to eliminate that just yet, right? He definitely has another year or two with us, right? So Jakob, free agent this summer now too. So we just went over it. Res series, 20 million, 3 4 years, probably, right? Depending. But we're only talking about next summer at this point. So it's the summer preview, not the full extension out. And that'll be done in the summer, in the off season, after some of these decisions are made. We're gonna have to reevaluate what we're looking at, right? So Thaddeus's contract is interesting because this final year, where we saw Pirtle's full contract guaranteed from the Spurs, we didn't fully guarantee all the amount on Thad Young's contract. Only 1 million is guaranteed on this year. So we could actually waive him, pay 1 million in dead money, and have 7 million in relief. We're gonna talk about that in second part how it shakes out. But Scotty, we don't have to worry about it. But Res Series, yeah, pretty much 25% max for 5 years, depending on the rookie designated extension. If he makes All Star, that turns to 26. If he makes All NBA, it goes to like 27. If he makes All NBA second team, it goes to 28. And you get it, right? So, like, this number is still in fluctuation based on the designated rookie extension, which was really popular around last summer, and everyone's talking about it, how certain teams couldn't trade for certain guys, and that they just found this out. But this has been a reality for a long time. So, obviously Otto knee ending surgery. We got a long term like thing from that. Grubstown goes into it a little bit more. I think I'm gonna trust his research. I haven't looked too much into it, but there's an additional 3 million on the summer kind of cap window or something like that. So, but he's gonna accept his player option probably, right? Or, you know what I mean? Like, there's options here with him and what we need to do with our salary. So then Precious, Res, I went 18-3, but then kind of Aaron Rose kind of maybe got it better because of the injury this year. It's kind of slowed down his development, so it might be like a smaller number, right? So Juancho, we don't know if he's coming back, right? Flynn, we don't know if the front office is so hard on him they're willing to like not deal him, or we talked about Flynn, right? Fee is that's dead money. So Ben needs a new contract. We don't know what the front office is really thinking there. I think probably like a min, like four. I don't know. It depends, right? It depends what Ben's willing to take to help us, right? If he wants to be here, he's probably gonna have to take a slight shave right now to really hold here, or we might have to look at a different option. I don't know. It's tough. It's tough, right? So Koloko, obviously, we're gonna hold him, right? Then Justin Champagne's money, he was making 1.7 and then was making 1.7 this year or 1.8, like not fully guaranteed though. So like we could waive him up to till we talked about the dates, right? There's a certain date that contracts get fully guaranteed, and before that point, you can waive certain guys and the amount's not fully guaranteed. And we did that with Justin Champagny, saved 101 million this year. Kind of paid for Wise Camp a bit. We had to add on a little bit of extra money, right? We had to waive all the rights to our older guys like Jeremy Lin, Lucas Nogueira, all those guys we've kind of held their rights for years and years. We had to waive it because we're so up against the cap. Like you could see it right here at the end here. This is all dead money, so and then Joe is unguaranteed for next year, but he does have a multi-year deal. Like that was a key word, multi-year deal, but it's nothing is guaranteed for next year. Jeff Doughton is restricted free agent. Ron Harper can get another two-way if we want to do that with him. So if we want to keep Doughton, we're gonna have to. This is qualifying offer. This is the min salary he can be paid in the NBA based on years of experience. And you could see Joe Wieskamp has a small uptick, or maybe that was negotiated. That's probably his min, right? We're cutting it so close. Like, look at this, 149.986 million. So like pretty much 150. Look at the salary tax number here, 150 and 267, right? So whoo, it's like right. Woo, we're just we're on there. So like people wishing for another buyout, we don't have the money. We have like 267 plus the change on here, which is what 14. So 271. That's how much money we have left before hitting luxury. Because these are the two numbers. This is salary. This is the rights number, where after this number, you have to have rights and you have to use the MLE or biannual exception. You have to use exceptions after this rule or bird rights to sign guys after this point once you've hit this number. But this is the luxury tax number and the one we really care about, because bird rights, we have like everyone's bird rights. That's a non-starter. So this is obviously the number that even with bird rights, when you hit this number, you got to pay luxury. So like bird rights are for this number and not the second number, right? Amounts matter here, right? So we're gonna go over I've kind of like you could see there's a lot of extra here. So I chopped it out and we'll go back here and enter in some of the numbers that matter for next summer, and we're gonna check this out, right? So obviously this is this year and then this is next summer, right? So it doesn't actually these amounts don't total up to that. It's just if anyone spots it out, obviously we cut a lot of the dead money out that adds to this value, right? So I just wanted to kind of just have it there just to say totals, because this is actually the totals of adding up what people think is the only option here. So let's see how it works. So Pascal gets 37.89. So I like rounded things off. It's too meticulous to go into amounts like so I just kind of did it to the million and kind of rounded out that way a bit. But I was really fair and even on a lot of stuff to make this number more accurate. But this is just an approximate because how contracts shake out, the final numbers, like the dot 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 numbers, like this, in a sense, we've seen OG. OG's contract scales up based on that, and then Boucher's contract scales back. So we've seen front office use this technique, but for Fred, 30 million initially, right? So like if it were every year it has to be the same amount, we'll go through it and then we'll talk about the adjustments that we can make, right? So Gary Trent looking at 25, right? OG on the 18, Boucher on 11, right? Poeltl on the 20 that we talked about, right? Thad on the 8, but a million guaranteed, so keep that in mind. Scotty on the 8, Otto definitely probably picks that up. So on the 6, right? Precious on the 4. Malachi on the like 4 pretty much. Banton needs a new contract. Koloko is making 1.7. Wieskamp probably a similar number to get his second year here, right? Then we have Doughton restricted free agency and Harper. We talked about the options with him, right? So after calculating the guys that are staying, so I didn't include Banton, Wieskamp. Like if your money doesn't go into this amount, I'm not counting you just yet, right? So with this calculation, we have 13 players and two ways because two ways don't come off this number. They're you like that's why they're purple because they don't actually go to this number. They're freebies in a sense. So 13 players, two ways equal up 173.2 million, 25 million, right? And if we look at this, so next year's cap, right, projections. So this is the first number where the rights and right, blah, 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 but we care about the salary tax number. So this is the difference over the salary cap projected at the moment, right? It's not official till like the season and all this kind of stuff right before the season starts. It becomes like official. So right now we're looking at 11.25 million over with 13 players. If we were to structure the contracts very like everyone thinks it is. But things don't work like other people think. And we can see examples of OG's contract moving percentages. We see Boucher's contract move back percentages based on they knew different things were happening with the team and have scaled the contracts accordingly, right? So that's what it matters, right? All this kindage of the cap, this number will become. So obviously we have a decision to make. Gary Trent Jr., OG, or Fred. I think those are the decisions. One of them has to go before Precious picks up his money and Spicy needs that contract next summer too, right? So, and OG needs that number if he's staying, right? So there's three guys next summer that need money too. So, but I think we're in a more position if we're competitive to utilize the last 2 years of Scotty's rookie contract and push into the luxury and compete and really go for it in these 2 years, right? Where well, not this year, but obviously we're going to squeeze under luxury and still compete hard. But the next year we'll go into luxury and really push the buttons if we're there, right? Depending how this season ends, right? And how next season goes, we have the flexibility to hold everyone actually if we want to pay luxury the year after based on the watch 11 million to make on this roster is too easy, everyone's getting in a twist over nothing. 11 million, watch me make 11 million out of this roster. Okay, so we've seen Van Vliet. He's already adjusted value before, where his contract was like 20 million in the first year, went down to 18 million the second year, where we're looking to sign Giannis, so we needed a large amount of cap space, this type of cap space to sign Giannis. So that's where free agents and this number comes in. You have to be under the first number to have real cap space to sign those type of guys. So Fred worked with us and made his second year lower value. So we went back up to the regular average value in his third year of the contract, right? And then now right here, that's like the average annual value, and then he makes the extra that he lost in the second year in the player option year, and it's for 22 million. So we could see how Fred VanVleet's already adjusted his contract because he wants to be here. So adjusting it again, right? First year we have 5 to 8%. I marked 8% because he's very vet. I think he qualifies for the 8% bump, right? And this is how it works out. So the first year he would lose, so it would be like 27.6 million in the first year. So this is not 30 anymore. It's 27.6 million. Second year is 30, and then we tag the difference, even it out over the third and fourth year. So we cut that in half, so 1.2 million extra over 30. So he'd make 31.2 million in the years after this contract. You can understand how this goes, right? And the cap's going up again. You could see another 8 million, and it goes up another 8 million, and it goes up another 8 million. So we could see the percentage of this amount will actually go down, even though it's increasing in the time, right? So starts off at a 27.6, gets back to 30, and then gets to 31.2, and then 31.2 for the final 2 years, right? So Gary, we can do the same exact thing. We can make him have 23 the first year, back up to average annual value, and then cut a million and add it to 26 the third year and 26 the final year. And that's how we squeeze through it. It's not fucking rocket science. It's basic stuff they've been doing already. They positioned Boucher's contract to utilize something like this. So they match up salary. As Boucher loses salary, they can add salary to another guy. That's how flexibility in cap works. And we're going to see more moves. Like this is we're not done. So obviously there's an option with Chris Boucher as well. Look at the amount he makes. Moving him for a non-guaranteed waivable contract could actually hit the mark just with that move alone, and no need for adjusting and no need for any of the extra stuff. But we still do have to sign Banton to a min, and Joe Wisekamp get his min value. Obviously, correction from earlier, obviously this isn't his like minimum contract amount. This is how much he's guaranteed if he's not waived by the end of the season, or I don't know how this number came to being, but it's going to be closer to this number. Like the qualifying offer, you can see that's the minimum contract for rookies in like a certain bracket, right? So we still have to keep in mind that we need a little extra. So about like 3 something million. I'm not gonna add in the auto money, the exception money here, but that can also cover these two guys easy if we were to do a Boucher trade and just leave contracts as is. We could still keep everyone here. This solution, there's so many solutions to make 11 million on this roster. It's ridiculous. The flexibility of this roster and the value that it has is ridiculous. So let's continue on. Jakob Poeltl, we talked 20 million, right? If he wants to stay here, he might have to adjust his first year. That's supposed to be a 1. Sorry. Obviously, I shifted on the 1 for a second. Like, capitalizing everything, and then just things like that are gonna happen, but whatever. So 1.6, so this would be like 18.4 first year, and then we tag 800,000 onto whatever, you know what I mean, or add the full 1.6 on the third year, or split it out between a third and fourth year, depending on what we re-sign him for. See how that works, right? So that is where the interesting option comes from, right? So we talked about he has only 1 million guaranteed. If we looked at his contract like we looked at Poeltl's contract earlier, it would say this, and we can actually waive him, add 1 million to the dead money pile like this, right? And then get 7 million in cap. So technically 6 million from here. So if we add up all these adjusted numbers, so we get 6 million from adjusting the new contracts plus 7 million of Thad. We have technically 12 players signed, and we have 13 under this number. So it'd be 60. 160.25. 160 is under, right? So that's easy. But we need a little more space, and there might be a little more tweaking to get those min guys, because we would still need 3 min guys. Like, min contracts cost like this much, so we need a little bit more, and that's where I think we might see an auto trade. We could attach a future second to Otto's contract, or if his value is good enough for the team that what they're looking for, they'll just take him for a non-guarantee because he does have value in the league still, and could be a rental trade-off if they tune him up during the year and show that he's back in form. They could offload him at the trade deadline for a bigger pick or something. So they might actually take him for a non-guarantee right out, maybe not even taking a second, but I don't think that's a good move. We have to pick between like Otto and Thad in a sense here, right? So it's like, yeah, like Porter's more for like now. I think Thad really came in and did his job and got paid and did what he had to do, but he understands that with Poeltl here, it's a different kind of, we're gearing up to go at it more, right? So, and we have options not to sign Poeltl, sign in trades too. Like, there's too many options. This is so easy. This is so easy to keep these guys. And people are making it. Don't let reporters and media and other YouTube scare you where they haven't even checked these numbers and don't know what they're talking about. Where truth is, we check the numbers and we bring the truth out to the light. Bring the truth to the light. Project Truth style. Project Truth always. Let's keep going. So Otto is an option there. Obviously, Scotty's not going anywhere, so we have no option with Scotty. OG's probably OG for whatever until we figure out what we want with OG, right? So then we go on to Precious. So Precious, obviously, he's going to get his money next summer. We're holding him. He's not going anywhere. Flynn is another story, though. Interesting enough, because you only have to match 75% of the salary. Or if it's a rebuilding team, they could take his whole salary and then they get an exception, a trade exception for taking the salary onto their salary cap before this. So if they're under this number, they can take his full contract, and he is like more in tune for a kind of rebuilding team, a guy that can maybe come in and stabilize. It depends. In this calculation, he's in there here still, but that's an option. So there's another 4 million. 4 million would cover the other mins. That's too easy. So I think there are a lot of options with this roster. Don't let people scare you. We're fine. We can keep everyone. Like I showed you here. It's easy. We just have to kind of make decisions on other guys. Like Thad would have to go to keep the core. But then next year, obviously, if we're trading out 25 million or like OG or whoever, and Or if we're going for it, we could trade into more money and a better player off this salary. So Greg has discussed that as well, right? With Fred VanVleet's money, where we could trade him for another guy, right? So like these amounts are valuable, but they have to be kind of earned by the player to make it valuable. And the hard work all these guys put in are constantly, every day, no days off, like my open gym review, Cloco was talking, hey, it's no days off. And that's what it takes to get these numbers up there, right? Fred took no days off. Spicy took no days off. You know what I mean? So it's about just continuing on, seeing what this core can bring. We have another year to decide on this very, very crucial and important decision. We have a chance to keep two of them, and we're gonna have to ask one to kind of go, maybe, or we pay luxury and keep them all if we're that good. But if we're not good enough, you could see one of these guys go out, right? So we separated the trade where we could pick up a 20 million guy, and we might decide on this decision later. So we separated the moves. We didn't have to make the removal move at the same time we got the center move, is what I'm saying. So we get a time period. So we get the rest of the season and next season to kind of evaluate where the team's at with all the guys we have here. We're in no rush to push to sign and trade anyone. No one has us by a gun on anything, right? So we're good shapes, and I think Masai and Bobby will obviously kind of dive through the noise, evaluate the team at the end of the year, really crunch the numbers and look at future stuff and all that kind of stuff, and all the mechanics that the Raptors are set up to do will come through and show the flexibility of this roster, because we can do anything we want pretty much, and it works cleanly without having to break our system to do it, right? So obviously this is kind of like a 1.5 Raptors extension series. Raptors extension series 2 is coming in the summer, where we'll find out some of the answers to these questions on Jakob, Gary, Fred, maybe some of the lower roster decisions, Thad, maybe. We'll see how it shakes out. But we definitely have a lot of options, and we have guys that are keen on making the right decisions for us long term. So if someone wants more than they're worth, they're not going to push us to do anything about it. We might sign them to that bigger contract if a team's interested in giving us the assets we asked for to get them on that contract. And that's how we can hold our bird rights in free agency to really weaponize that to become an asset, because the player wants to go to a good team, and most likely they're way over this first number, right? And that's where you need to be under this number to really take a player from a team without a sign and trade that makes a lot of money, because the MOE is only 10 million. You can't sign an MOE with a this isn't mid-level money, right? This is more. So we'll see how everything shakes out, but it's just good to have a good sense of where things are at. We see the numbers, we've checked it out. If we go as proceeded, you could see we explained it out. Time for housekeeping. So always want to start it off by saluting and thanking the real ones for comments, likes, subs. All that stuff is obviously due to you guys, the real ones, loving what I'm kind of doing here. And thank you for the support from everyone. I definitely want to make this one a little bit shorter. So I did say I was going to change this up because I did show the collection on stream in my Logical Live video, where I was wearing the Vince Carter dunk contest era kind of jersey. And this is my jersey collection that I have. And I was talking about it on Raptors Freaks channel. So we always kind of chat about whatever Raptors stuff is happening. And it's a really good time with people that are keen in on the positive stuff and want to talk about the good things that we're doing. And that's a great time, 9:30 a.m. Eastern every day. This guy's putting in that work, developing like I am too, in a sense. Like he has his own jerseys, like really cool, like older jerseys, like from when he worked from the ACC. I don't believe jerseys equal fandom. Like some of the guys growing up that actually have these jerseys, like Ibaka probably never had an NBA jersey growing up that wasn't his like own given by a team, right? He didn't have probably money for to buy out like jerseys like this and stuff. So his fandom for NBA is like, you know what I mean? So some of the poorest guys grow up without jerseys, become NBA players, and then we end up buying their jerseys. So it doesn't show fandom, but some of the caps I got, like, I just want to show it out from because it's kind of on the side angle, so now you can see like them all properly. We got the City Edition Leonard, got like classic DeRozan, Joseph, Bosch, Vince, Ibaka, Purple Dino Lowry, Van Vliet, OVO practice, and then Siakam. The one I showed on the first streams that I kind of deleted, but I'll show the fronts on most of the jerseys. I'm showing the front on that because I showed the front, right? And I always wanted to have Toronto front because Vince put us on the map, and Toronto for him, it was bigger for him the front of the jersey than the back, and I just wanted to kind of put that forward and that energy, and it's all lined up by who left the team at what time. So Vince left, then Bosch left, then Joseph left before DeRozan, and Kawhi left after the championship. Then Ibaka left after the run it back year, and then Lowry left the following year, and we still have Van Vliet and Siakam. So they're all in like a line, and we got like mostly Messiah jerseys, 5 champs. We got the champ hat, we the champs hat, Rockaware's finest for Rockford's finest. I got like a DC Canadian hat because Ibaka's represent Canada all the time and stuff. I got my Air Jordan MJ kind of hat for GOAT stuff that Leonard did for us, right? I got a couple other caps. Joseph for the new era of Masai and how like things went when Joseph came in and really galvanized. And we had some really good years with him here. And he was a big part of the mentoring at that part. And I really wanted to pay tribute to the six, right? Bosch, yeah, and then Carter, yeah. So really good time. Also, check out Grubstown Clink, man. He's been killing it with a bunch of videos. Project Truth in both Raptors Freak Lex. Well, it's Raptors Freak Live now. I think maybe he might decide to do videos at some point. Who knows? And maybe a good separation of that. We'll see. We'll see what Lex has in plans in store. He's developing, doing different things. Greg from Grubstown Clink also doing interesting different things. He's really high on the production value, and I'm developing, doing my thing, and we're going to continue to bring the truth to people, like the real ones that really want the truth of what things are and not what they can be used to get your money. Don't worry about that. I'll end it off here. It's been a good one. Project Truth always. Logical Raptors. Fanatic out. Mike G. Mike G.
Oh man, I love my team, man, I love my team. I would die for